right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, as Michael Neal would say. We're here in Kind Mind, and usually Kelly says, Hi! And how are you all? I hope everybody's really well. I am just sitting on a glorious Monday morning, and I'm in my living room and I'm staring out at a beautiful British Columbia sky. But I'm really curious where you're all from. And we always have new people in the room, and Ian is from the UK, and that always brings some difference and change. So I would love it if everybody texts into the chat where you're from, what you got going down, maybe a word of the day, whatever you feel you'd like to chat in there, because I'd love to know where you're from and I'd love to welcome you. We have the world in this room. I'm very blessed to say that the world has shown up. I have had almost the globe, I have to say, in the room at some point. Now it's a little bit difficult to ask people that are, sleeping at 2 in the morning or 4 in the morning to get their butt over here, but they've been here at certain times to see their community and to see the principles grow and to listen to conversations with beautiful, wise people like Ian Shaw. And so before we get started, I just want to say my name is Kelly Mabel, for those of you who don't know. And Kind Mind Academy and community on Facebook was built a year ago during COVID, when I had an insight that just said, I think there's a message through the three principles that might be able to grow if Kelly, did something. And so I decided to open this global room and to make it available to the world every single week, once a week. And it's been growing with your community, as your commitments, your attention to joining us. So I first want to thank you. I want to thank you with all my heart for coming, because this is how the message of well-being gets spread, and this is how the three principles have flight. Have flight. They take flight. I'm still letting people in the room, Ian. So today's conversation isn't going to be any different than any others. Ian and I, we met in rooms. We met in rooms, and we met in two different groups that Ian's a part of, which I am very proud to announce because they are beautiful people sharing the message of the three principles. And that would be someone who is in the room, Caroline Powell. Do you want to say hello? Where are you, Caroline? I can't see
Hello.
you. Hi. Hello, hello. Hello
Excellent.
there, Big Simple. Hello. Great to have you. Glad to hear and happy to support the Big Simple. And I want to say that Caroline and Ian work together. Do you want to give a shout out to the Big Simple, Caroline? She just went on mute. Yeah. You want to give
Where
a
are
shout?
they? I can't see them. Where are they?
They're somewhere here amongst all these other beautiful people. Do you want to say hi, Ian?
Yeah, just to mention Liliana Bellini and Susan Marmot, who also work for Slice of Happiness and run a non-profit called The Big Simple.
Yeah. And Ian volunteers with Caroline and with Susan, who's just popping into the room. Hi,
Hi.
Susan. She's getting her audio there. It's like we're putting her right in the moment. Susan, calling Susan Marmot. Hello, big simple slice of happiness and all those.
Hi, you're good remembering all the names.
How are you?
Really good. Yeah, how are you? Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. And I'm so glad you're here because both these ladies, along with Liliana, who I don't believe is in the room, they support the message of the principles, and they support people from coming out of care or in care with institutional and what we would call foster care, with the Big Simple, which is their way of sharing the understanding. And that's with Caroline, and Ian is a volunteer there. And then with the slice of happiness, it's for people that are out of work and they're on benefits and they're looking for a greater understanding to move themselves into possibly full-time careers, places where they can have established jobs, financial income, and create betterment for themselves in the way of supporting them, their families, and the community. And so that's called a slice of happiness. And Ian is a facilitator in that room. And so these are the things that I celebrate. I celebrate people speaking the message of the principles, sharing it with their communities like we do here at Kind Mind. And I support those conversations, and I love those people, and I call them friends, as you all are. And so this beautiful friend of mine, Ian, over there in what city, Ian?
Hemel Hempstead, UK, near London.
There you go. I get all these new names every time everybody comes. So
Quite
Barbara
possibly.
Jones is over in Port Coquitlam. I know that one. We've got Sandra Dean from Coquitlam, which is just up above me. My dear brother and kind in my Mississauga hometown, Greg Fisher. Hello, bonjour. How are you, Martine? Great to see you in cold Ottawa, she says, which is East Coast Canada. Veronica Ireland is a Brit. She's a Brit. Do you know, one of the mistakes I made was to call England London all the time. I used to go, over there in London, but really it's not one place. So thanks for the difference. Zanda, my friend Zanda's in Belfast. Thomas is in Mississippi. Hey Thomas, good to see you. Gothenburg, Sweden with Ylva. Lovely to have you. Caroline, of course, is in Hertfordshire, where her company is supporting the communities. And Sue is in Buckinghamshire. Oh, I was going to say Birmingham, but Buckinghamshire. I don't even know where that is. And Susan from North Vancouver. Great to have you. We've also got Sacramento with my friend Bill, my dear friend Bill. Amanda Doyle from the UK, Rick from my neighboring island, Chemainus, all the way from the beautiful Chemainus, Yale from Israel, hi Yale, Ray Joan, Ray Joan's in the room from Surrey, whoop, 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 hello Ray Joan, great to have you back. My beautiful iPad, which is Jillian, I think, Fargo from England as a slice of happiness, and Jane from the UK, Alistair from Uppsala, Sweden, and Anna Maria, where are you from? I forget. And we have, oh, there we go, Hertfordshire, great. So it's like the world's come together here, and we come together for a message. So I'm in Port Moody, British Columbia, and I am opening this conversation to my lovely friend Ian. I'm going to put Ian on speaker. Now, just a few logistics that I'm going to change up, everybody, as we go into the conversation. So recently, people have said that they are finding it hard when people are talking, when the chat is on, and in such a beautiful, loving way. A lot of people want to say, I'm out, I gotta go, and they want to leave a loving message to do that. But what happens often is the speaker has been sharing with me that disturbs the flow, because we all come and go as we please here. So if we could wait for any chatting to be at the end of Ian's conversation, sending your love then, sending your farewells then. And if you have to leave the room early, just sail out silently and we'll know and hold your love and your presence in the room as you go. Is that okay, everybody? Is everybody good with that? Yeah. And because people sometimes get in the flow, and it was brought to my attention, I thought, yep, I can do something about that. So there we go. I don't know how to disable it, so it doesn't matter. I'm just letting you all know, and we'll just go with that. So Ian has a conversation to share about his experience, his strength, his hope, what he saw as a big simple and a little slice of happiness for himself. And so, Ian, I'm going to let you take the room, and I'm going to turn you on to speaker view, like I said. And will you share with everybody here the way that you were, the understanding you were living in, and some of the things that you saw, and anything that's on your mind for this morning? And thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. Just wanted to mention initially, I've been in sort of Kelly's room a few times, probably not as many as I would have liked due to a clash with a slice of happiness. But she joined a group that I volunteered in about 6 months ago. And I know Gillian, Amanda, Sue, and a few others were on it at the time. And we were all really touched by how personable, how engaging and grounded she was. So you're one of our favourite guests. So thank you, and hope you come back soon. Well, first of all, it's quite funny me speaking in front of something like this because, well, it might not seem a big deal. It's always been one of my absolute biggest fears is groups of people, and the only time I could speak in front of a group was normally in a pub when I'm telling a rubbish joke, sort of 5 beers in, you know. So it's funny, after following sort of the 3 principles, how my comfort zone is dissolving over many different things, you know, even though I might feel a little bit nervous before, knowing that those nerves are just a result of my thinking changes everything. So I was introduced to A Slice of Happiness, I think it was May 2019, because Caroline was advertising as a homeless charity offering support to homeless people and people on benefits, and I'd just come through from a period of homelessness. I mean, I couldn't feel more lucky. It was just a chance. A friend who's not even aware of A Slice of Happiness happened to like him on Facebook. Something about the name just screamed out of the page at me. You know, there's something so, I don't know, just sweet about it. You know, something that just really attracted me. And you know, I feel very lucky to have had Caroline, Liliana, and Susan as sort of facilitators and mentors over the last few years. It's been absolutely life-changing, you know, both from a first-person perspective and the way that I see the world and can moderate my own behaviours. I mean, I'll start briefly, just a little bit of history about me. I sort of had some developmental problems from a very young age. I, you know, had problems with my birth, which apparently affected my nervous system and the way I was able to interact as a young lad. And I was put under the care of a special needs teacher because of my sort of emotional issues as a kid. And to be fair, in retrospect, my behaviour for a young lad was a bit out of hand, and I do look back with a bit of, well, with empathy for the teachers who had to deal with it, much as I've carried a lot of hatred for them throughout my life. And I carried this idea because I, you know, struggled with my emotions and whatnot, and my behaviour at a young age. I carried this idea of being broken and there being something wrong with me. You know, throughout the years, it's something that's affected me all the way along, really. In a way, it sort of made me strive harder to be a good person, because I had this cast iron belief that I wasn't, that there was something bad or dangerous or certainly wrong with me. So I would just always be striving to prove to myself that I was a good person despite it. But as time went on and I got older, I suppose my you know, sort of perfectionist ideas of what a good person was, whilst believing I was severely damaged, dangerous, you know, what have you. You know, anytime I couldn't live up to these sort of, you know, unachievable ideals of trying to be kind, trying to be considerate, trying to be the ideal sort of boyfriend or whatnot with an ex, I would go into despondency and almost embrace the bad person I felt I was. So as life went on, whilst during good and settled times, I was, as I present myself now, you know, I was quite a caring, compassionate person, but the extremes of how I would feel and how I behave would become more and more extreme, and I was sort of unable to hold jobs down. I spent 2 spells in prison, had issues around drinking and cocaine, with a couple of drink drive convictions, all culminating in around 2016 when I'd just totally given up hope of life. Life seemed very, very dark. I made long-term plans to check out, you know, for suicide because there was no hope. And any time I felt a bit of relief, to me, it was sort of the opposite to how it seems now. It would feel like an illusion, and I didn't want to feel hope or happiness, because that would just prolong what I saw as the agony of life. And I laugh now because I do. It doesn't mean it was funny at the time, but you know, I don't look at my past and necessarily with that much emotion or take it that seriously as something I have to wear now. I arranged a leaving do and gave away all my possessions and gave my friends a cock and ball story that I was going away somewhere to work with these sort of suicidal plans. And one of my friend's girlfriends recognised just the way I was talking and how I suddenly went from months of depression to suddenly seeming happy and not caring about anything and talking about being a burden and whatnot. And I suppose, they were just all over me, as in wouldn't leave me alone. I'm saying in a good way, offering me this real support that saw me through those probably a week of being hell bent or feeling like I was hell bent on ending everything. I was homeless shortly after, which in retrospect could have, prior to A Slice of Happiness, been one of the best things that's happened to me, because I was sitting at home, drinking, taking drugs, hating the world, hating myself, harming myself, not taking care of my little dog. And I made myself homeless intentionally with the view that would make me desperate enough to finish everything. But what it actually did was make me snap out of my own sort of thinking and get more into the moment. My dad took care of my little dog. I'm very lucky that he did, but it gave me that, I suppose, that reality check. Life came in and it sort of burst through all those. And I hate the term, but self-pitying, self-destructive, hopeless sort of thoughts. And after being homeless for a while, not really seeing a great deal of hope, because I was signed off work with apparent mental health issues of borderline personality disorder and ADHD. I happened to see a hostel in a neighbouring town where I didn't know anyone that would take dogs in, and I didn't know where that would lead. I was on the social housing list in Watford, and I was giving that up. But I'd committed, I'd bought a dog, I committed to it. I needed to make that wrong right, that big guilt right. And as it happens, going into a hostel, being lucky enough, unlike many of my, hostel friends, to have had a good upbringing, to have had a good education, and also being a bit older than some of them, for the first time in a long time, I've sort of had the useful role of being the one that would help write CVs for people and write letters and offer a bit of support, because I was the older one. And as I say, despite my issues, I did grow up in a loving environment. I was just too caught up in my thinking of being damaged to appreciate fully that loving environment. But I think being in that hostel and being able to support and show love to other people, and also this massive connection, because among these sort of homeless people, including myself, there were a lot of addicts and different mental health diagnosis, and so people, I found in there was an authenticity that I hadn't perhaps appreciated in life previously. There was no cover of I've got this job or wealth or possessions for people to hold up as a mask. People were just showing up as they were, even with the flawed behaviour that came with them. So I felt a real bond with these people. And as I was lucky enough to be offered social housing in Hemel, I saw Caroline's advert for a homeless charity, and I went there initially to try and volunteer, because I knew I wasn't fit for work, and I knew I wanted to help the homeless, because I was one, I had been one. And that's when I found out about the three principles, and saw through so much of this personality I'd sort of constructed. I think, as we all do, as time went on, I turned from being a sort of sensitive child to feeling I had to protect myself against all these assumptions I'd made about myself and the world. And following A Slice of Happiness, I just started seeing more and more through my behaviours, through my perception of a sort of cold, cruel world, and realised sort of how much love there is in the world, you know, and I'd seen that in the hostel as well with the various charities that look after dogs, or there's one charity called Christians Against Poverty that help people with debt and whatnot. I just saw so much more love in the world than I had when I grew up in the sort of more middle classes, if you like. Um, as I'd been involved with the principals, I suppose for just over a year, Caroline asked me to be a peer mentor, which I was absolutely overjoyed about, but also massively nervous. I mean, I think the day before the course started, well, I know the day before the course started, I typed out a resignation text message because I was so nervous, but something stopped me doing it, you know, because it's like, you're not good enough, this, that, they think, you know, all this imposter syndrome, which I think we've all experienced at some point to some degree, but something stopped me doing it, and I think for me, becoming a peer mentor and since as a facilitator, that's where I've really gained the understanding to a deeper level, and something last year is probably would have been the hardest year of my life. In many ways, still was. I lost. I'm going to weep in a minute, but not in a bad way. I'm not. You know, I'm not afraid of that. I experienced tears very differently to how I used to. But I lost my dad on the 28th of February last year. It was a 2-week illness. He was a healthy man up until that point. You know, so we thought. And my mum had been in hospital for dementia for sort of 10 over. She'd been suffering over 10 years and been in hospital about 8. But as when my dad passed away, and still I was still able to see through my thoughts and emotions, something that would have been, I think, in the past really dark and unfair. I just appreciated, you know, I floods of tears all the time probably, but rather than a massive feeling of loss, it was more just a feeling of love to have had him, and a real recognition of the something we all know intellectually, but the impermanence of it all, and the fact that we're, I don't know, part of a bigger system called life, and we will come and go as life goes on, you know. And just after the funeral, my mum passed away as well, which wasn't totally unexpected, but given the background of my dad passing, it was a very painful time. But previous to the 3 principles, that would have destroyed me. I mean, the things a lot less have felt like they destroyed me, and I can only imagine, given how I used to be, the bitterness and the unfairness and the loss, but it hasn't felt like that. It's, I still get upset. I nearly did a moment ago, and I think only a couple of days ago I heard Cat Stevens, Father and Son. Heard it on the radio. I love that song. But anyway, made me think of my dad, and I had a little weep while I was driving. But it wasn't the old self-pity and I've lost, life so unfair, why me kind of weeping. It was just this sort of warm embrace of this feeling of love that I've got for life, you know. And as things have progressed with the principles, I feel like I understand more about myself and the world and other people by the day. You know, the old reactivity or egos just falling away more and more. You know, even the issues I didn't know I had, or the thoughts perhaps behind the scenes I didn't know I have fallen away. And there are a few of them on here at the moment, like Gillian, Amanda, Sue, and I'm sure there's others on the other page that I can't see, but myself and Gillian set up with obviously Caroline's brainchild, an ongoing support group for a slice of happiness. And it's been a wonderful experience. I mean, one that I found quite challenging in a way at first. There's a lot of thinking around it. It was something new, but even that nervous thinking and stuff, I think now I see nerves in a very different way to I used to, because behind any kind of nerves and anxiety, there's always something more to learn. And it's just become such a warm, fantastic group, of which, although I'm the host, everyone puts in. And I've never previously, although I've done well in spells, I've never previously been able to see through those kind of emotions, certainly so reliably. For instance, today, for want of a better expression, I hope you don't mind, I was kind of shitting bricks before I came on here. Sorry. But I would get caught in my thinking, feel all those big bodily sensations that come on when you're nervous. But then, there would be a little gap in them and it would just feel like aliveness. And, as I say, that's an incredibly big thing for someone, for me, as it is for all of us when we start to see the three principles and start to see through, the thought construction realities that we previously had. I've always used to use emotion as a motivator, which worked up to a certain point, but by the time I reached my 30s and 40s, it was just like this sort of internal civil war that was going on, something that came up earlier is how in one of our groups, I had an idea of what changing and what a good life will look like. And it didn't necessarily look anything like how it's been, but the experiences I've had were beyond anything I could have thought of, I've kind of run out of things to say for a second, I think, Kelly.
I'm just going to take a deep breath. Wow, there was a lot in that for me. And I just kept, how sometimes the conversation, like I could jump. One of the things that I do here at Kind Mind is I let the person speak the platform rather than us going back and forth like we do sitting with people BSing in the, living room. We let the speaker have the platform. And what happens for me in there is that I can hear a lot of things. I'd start laughing. I could jump in and go, oh, yeah, me too. But there's this place where it's really a beautiful reminiscence of the experiences of past and what it looks like now and the difference between that two. And so what I was hearing there was you said something so beautiful. You said life came in. Life came in. And I thought, wow. And then you said, I happened to see the hostel for dogs. Well, when we're blind to the experiences, we don't necessarily see. So just being able, these, and the other word you said, I saw the advert by Caroline. So expanding just what you were seeing, each thing was giving, and none of them were related. The doggy hostel situation wasn't the advert, but Caroline, but all of that was, something that I see is being able to see something new that you didn't see before.
Yeah, I suppose the way I would sort of see it, and I think I had a little bit of awareness prior to a slice of happiness, but I think people have described me as unlucky, and I realised that I wasn't. I just didn't notice or make the best of the luck I had, because I think day in, day out, there's all kind of things happening in life, and we only can ever take in such a small slice of them, and my whole thing behind life was, I thought there was life and then there was me, and I was battling through it. I've got the image in my mind of me with an umbrella sort of pushing against the wind, trying to battle through life, trying to use all this willpower, which I didn't realise I was trying to use.
Your groceries?
If you wish, it's just a mind image, so I can add groceries. As things have opened up, and I've had less of a linear, bought in these linear plans to try and protect myself. I've just been more open to what's going on around, and what I think I've noticed, or it certainly happened, whenever I've done something from that sort of pure love, such as my dog, or wanting to volunteer a slice of happiness, things have worked out. When I sort of feel that love and cover it with my own insecure thinking, or if I'm not enough, or jealousy, or whatever else it is, that's when things start to go slightly off course, because I'm not seeing things clearly. I mean, there was a point where I left a Spice Happiness very briefly. I think it was for about a week, but I was looking for a job, and I lived about 10 miles away from where it was at the time. So I said to Caroline that, I won't be able to attend. You come, because I can only attend certain sessions. But just by chance, I did an interview for the sort of BBC where for that hostel and dog charity, and I didn't want to do it because I'm actually quite a shy person. But I wanted to do it because I loved the charities, and Caroline happened to see it and then contacted me and sort of made me come in, even if I could only do one session per spa. So I think it's, for me, when I recognise that love and feeling that things are coming from, and don't twist it and dilute it with my thoughts and my stories, things tend to work out the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I hear you. And also, when we're seeing from a new set of eyes, the focus is different. So what's illuminated for me is completely different than what I might have been focusing on yesterday. So as I might not have seen the sun or the birds, because the other day I was caught up with my heavy groceries in the rain, So I really hear you on that. I really do. I have one question for you before we open up the room. And it was asked of me not so long ago, and I thought, yeah, that's a really great question. So I'm going to ask you, if you were to tell someone here that has never heard the principles, or someone out in the world, whether you're, just BSing at a coffee shop or standing in a lineup, or you're in an elevator, and there's somebody that doesn't know, but you have the opportunity to share with them, what would you say it is for you?
Well, I mean, for me, what I've sort of realised for myself, and what I've seen in my past behaviours and the people that I used to resent, is that, everything, because, life is about, life as a whole is about sort of expansion, evolution, and connection, isn't it? And I think it's the same with us, as in we've got love at our core, and all the other emotions and misbehaviors and everything that came from me was feeling that feeling, not knowing what it is, and misinterpreting through a story.
Mm.
But in terms of trying to sort of explain it to someone that hadn't heard of it before, I think it would be sort of going back to basics that Lily and Susan often say, of the sort of fundamentals, that there is a part of you that always remains unbroken and resilient, that sort of awareness behind the thoughts, and the explanation that all of our feelings, and therefore our experience, come from the thinking we're having.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when I speak to friends, I very rarely go in and say, this is the 3 principles, this, that, because I think they'd think I was a zealot and run away. But it's just when my brother says something and have caught up, just those little suggestions that come from the heart. I'm not trying to think specifically how can the 3 principles help. It's just suggestions that come from the heart of, pointing towards their thinking, or how they could see the experience differently, and showing that love, really, rather than trying to fix or resolve a situation for people.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I also didn't want to miss offering my condolences around your father.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I'm aware that we've got a whole bunch of people in the room, and this is the Ask Me Anything section. Ask Me Anything time. So let's open it up to anybody who may have a question, or they want to share, or we just want to open up to what you're hearing. Yeah. Maybe some proud mamas. I don't know. There's some proud sisters in the room out there. Hi, Greg.
Hi, guys. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Ian.
You all right, Greg?
My son's named Ian, by the way. So
brilliant name.
It's funny. I was on a training this weekend, And one of the exercises we did was around looking at a list of terms and putting them into a bucket of good or bad. And some of the terms were like getting married, having a baby, things like that people typically would say are good. And then on the other side was becoming homeless, loss of a parent, loss of a child, things like that. And then part of the exercise was then debating the validity of those classifications, right? So to hear your story about how homelessness for you was like the best thing that could have happened at that time in your life, it just really struck me, relating back to that exercise we did yesterday. Like we don't know for ourselves or for other people what circumstance is going to be for them or initiate and what will be born of that. So I just want to say thank you for sharing your story, and it really moved me.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Yeah, I suppose I'd say something that I wouldn't have known before, but all of those experiences could be considered good or bad. I use the baby one of my brother as an example. I think baby number 3 was good. Baby number 8 was a little bit less, but by the time it arrived, it was back to good again. But yeah, I mean, like homelessness or my father, obviously, I wouldn't say they were objectively good, but that was the point at which I suppose I let go of my ego and that stubbornness and banging my head against the imaginary wall that life was, and sort of opened up to the lessons that were in there for me.
Yeah, we don't know, like Greg said, we don't know when someone, Sue Anderson said it so brilliantly at one time. She said, all of a sudden, and it cracks open. And that's it. We can never see, we can't see, because it's happening. And I thought that was just what you guys were sharing. We don't know how it's going to happen for somebody else. Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Israel. All the way from Israel. Our girls in the house.
Hi. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Let me. So I want to thank you for sharing your story, because it is a beautiful story, and I resonate with a lot that you said. There's something particular that I really resonate with is as a child acting in certain ways, but knowing inside that I'm good. Like I'm a good kid. I'm a good kid. I don't know why I don't know why I'm doing all this stuff, but I appreciate you sharing and listening to you today. Waking something inside of me to go into the community, into places that already exist, that don't know about this understanding, and to do something like that. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Just something that sort of came up for me when you said about sort of beautiful story. It's funny how, to explain the story exactly how I saw it at the time, but if I look back on my life, all I see is love, really. Genuinely, I just see so much love and misunderstanding that was in it. I really do. And but it's important to tell it from the perspective that I saw it at the time. And yeah, there were some, times of real turbulence because I didn't understand, it wasn't because life itself was objectively bad. It's because I didn't understand it or didn't understand myself or my thinking.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Our innocent misunderstanding. Hello, Alona. Welcome to Kind Mind. Great to see you.
Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hi.
Well, I just wanted to say, obviously, Ian, we know each other quite well, and I've heard your story a number of times, but you're actually one of the main reasons why I wanted to continue with the Slice of Happiness. as you know, I've never met a homeless person in my life, let alone spoken to someone who has been homeless. So for me, being introduced to you was like, wow, this guy has just done a 360 on me. How has he managed to do that? From a person that it wouldn't even cross my mind to think, yalla, I'm going to sit down and have a chat with this guy. I just wouldn't. It's just not something I would do. But yet he has taught me so much about how one person can have so much heartache and just sadness to himself, and then for it all to have changed, and to see him week on week revolving and smiling and being so proud that he knows the three principles, and knowing that he's so able to share it so clearly. I'm so grateful for him. I'm so grateful, Ian, for everything you share and everything you say to me. I don't want to get emotional or cry, so I'll stop now. Thank you.
Thanks, Alona. We love Alona in our group. I think about 3 weeks in from her starting the initial slice of happiness, it was like a positivity firework had gone off, and it's very rarely slowed down. Like I was saying earlier, our group as a collective is amazing to me, because the way we're all evolving together is brilliant. And apart from the understanding of the three principles itself, the sort of community in a slice of happiness, and in the wider community, like Kelly, Mabel, and all the other people who come and volunteer, and it's a real it shows the absolute sort of effect of the three principles and how genuine the understanding is in people. And it's an amazing thing. One last thing that occurred to me, and we all, I think, do it, is how we all believe in labels, isn't it? Because people may see me one way as a facilitator, a different way as a homeless person, definitely a different way when I was a convicted criminal. Exactly the same person. I mean, I've learned how my experience works now, so I'm probably a more pleasant person to be around, but still exactly the same inside. And it's funny, because I'm sure I'll label people as much as the next one. We like to put things into groups, but just shows that we're so much more than our labels, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. I love that you brought that up too. Thank you, Alona, for sharing. It's good to see you again. And the labels is a thing for me. I feel you on that. And I laid that down a while ago. And I go into rooms where you have to say, hello, my name is with your label. And so I just realized that, I say something different, and that's just okay with me. So I hear you on that.
Just a quick one. What I think the difference is now, I was saying this the other week, is for instance, I've got a new neighbour who always ignores me when I say hello. So in the past, he would have got that moody bugger, and that would have been fixed and set in stone. Whereas now it's moody bugger in pencil ? Because I'm totally open to seeing, he's had a bad day or whatnot. And I got a smile out of him the other day, so that was quite nice.
Yeah.
But you can still have ideas without it being a fixed label, can't you?
Exactly. Thanks again, Alona. We're going to Mississippi, directly to Mississippi.
Kelly, good morning to you in Port Moody. And Ian, I've really enjoyed your talk so much. I'm on vacation here visiting my wife's family, and we were getting ready to go to the Mississippi State Aquarium. And I said, just a minute, I want to hear Ian Shaw speak. So I'm really glad I delayed it a little bit. And I salute your courage and bravery in sharing your story as well. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And I can just sense how many people you help in your day-to-day life as well. So a question I just thought of, kind of like Kelly, I heard it in a room recently, and I thought, yeah, it's a common question, but it's a good question. So it popped into my head, and I'd like to ask you, if you met yourself 20 years ago and you had the power and knowledge of this understanding, what words would you share with your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self?
Depending what mood he was in, I might just run away, but joking clearly. But I suppose you've got nothing to prove, and your sensitivity isn't a vulnerability, it's your strength. You know, I think I created a lot of stubbornness and sometimes a sort of tough guy persona around my sensitivity, because, and I used to say the words to people often, you know, I'm emotionally fragile, but physically I'm not. So if you hurt me, I'll do something bad, which is I'm laughing at now because it's just not who I am, but it's what I believe, that I was this emotional thing that could be broken, and yeah. So I don't know whether that answers your question or I veered off, but maybe love isn't a weakness, probably.
That's beautiful. Thanks so much, Ian.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, I have to concur with Thomas. This conversation has been very vulnerable and, you know, eye-opening for you to share, you know, the experience that you lived and are now no longer living. It's it speaks to just that deeper place. It speaks to that deeper place where you can let, like you said, shit and bricks. You can let go of the bricks, and you know, now we're here past it. And I think that I have a great respect for you being able to share that, Ian.
Just something, I think, I forget the exact wording that Thomas brought up about bravery for speaking, because there was an amount of nerves, but I think when I was younger, I competed a couple of sports like boxing and running, and the thing that stopped me continuing with them is I wanted to hit the ball out of the park every time. My ego, I could only run if I was going to get the best possible time, and I could only box if I was absolutely on form, not because I was afraid, but I needed to be sort of perfect. And I think what sort of I've realized, you know, in approaching and talking to people now, it's just from a connection thing, isn't it? And that's, you know, I still got a little bit of that personal thinking, I'm a god, but the thing that stops those nerves stopping me is because you're just showing up as yourself and trying to connect. And, you know, and if you do that, even if I did stutter and forget my words, then so what? So it takes a lot of the fear out of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. We got William, my friend Bill in California.
I really like what you were saying, and it really is more the feeling I was having. And often I listen to the details and the things that people go through in their life, but I didn't really hear all the details because I really was struck how much you enjoy being Ian. And that's what kept coming through, is that I didn't get that there's any need for competing. You were just enjoying being yourself. And that really just resonates with me. And I just, and then later I feel the accomplishments, the changes, all that fills in the spaces. But again, what really hit home was, oh, you just really enjoy being Ian now. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you should say that, and in a way you've explained it better than I thought it to myself. But I just enjoyed being part of life, and when I meet people now, I used to be so insecure because I had this idea of who I was and who they were, and it was like my ego meeting the ego that I thought they had. Whereas now it's just, effortless in the main, besides the odd bits of anxiety, because it's just, we're all part of life, and yeah, we're all just getting on with life, aren't we? And it's a great thing. Thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. There used to be a whole bunch of thinking for me about things like that as well. And it's funny how I talk to people about things they're not big. Nothing's big or bigger. Oh, this one's bigger than the other one. Oh, I've got so and so. It's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go in, meet that person where they're at. Another human to human, just a human over here, speaking to a beautiful human. And I think I have a new one. Hi, Sue. I think I met Sue before.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
Thanks for today. Hi, tonight. I think it's this morning for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to Ian, great, well done. I'm so proud of you, and it was a great talk. There's a little bit of curiosity actually, Ian, because a lot. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. Just thinking, a lot of people that we've met beyond recovery, when they went into prison, they saw insights, and they've used the three principles to become where we are now, type thing. So my question to you is, did you feel anything when you were in prison? Did you have any insights, or were you still working out of your ego then that then prevented you from going? So you were still complex and ego, if you know what I mean. Whereas when you were homeless, were you stripped of simplicity so much that you took nothing for granted and everything was so simple that then that allowed you to be the Ian that you wanted to be?
I mean, first of all, prison was hellish for me, and it's not so much the prison itself, but just the guilt. And I'm very close to my family, and I was tormented with guilt, and I think every second lasted an hour, and and I couldn't get out of I didn't know what I know now. Well, I wouldn't have been in there if I did, would I? But I was just tormented the whole way through, to be honest, with absolute guilt, and then counting down every second to try and get to the end. But as they've been in the hostel, I mean, it wasn't a picnic, and there were some real up and downs in there, but it was the feeling of this connection to people that I hadn't felt for a long time, because a part of, I went off the rails with alcohol and drugs, so my behaviours weren't very good, so my friendships receded, so then you feel worse. And when I got to the hostel, I just had a real we're all in it together kind of experience, with all of the sort of ego and having to pretend to be someone stripped away. So for me, I look back as that hostel was just a really positive experience, or all in.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, no, thanks, Ian.
Thank you, Sue. Great question. We have the beautiful Liliana Bellini. Where'd she go? She's gone.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. I see you now. I see you now.
Well, I had to come in and say something because I can honestly say that I always enjoy listening to Ian. Always. We've now been, how many groups, how many hours have been listening to each other. And honestly, I always enjoy listening to you. But today, even more in this space now, listening to your story deeply touched me again. And it is an absolute pleasure to have been with you in this journey and to have seen you kind of deepening your understanding, appreciation, and love for life. And it's an honor to work with you. And we say sensitivity is a strength, and you're in the embodiment of that, because you're so strong in your sensitivity and you're a strong man like that, and you don't hold back, you don't hesitate to show that side of you, and you do it beautifully. You're an amazing asset for Yeah, I mean, I had to hold that back my tears as well as I was listening to you. You're a fantastic asset to Slice of Happiness, and an amazing colleague. So we're all so lucky to have you. And yeah, so I just wanted to acknowledge you in this space as well. And I'm happy that more people will get to hear you and get to know you, and 100% support you. And thank you.
Thank you, Lily. I mean, yeah, as I said earlier, Lily, Susan, and Caroline have just so much love for them. I mean, everyone actually now, but as you know, I've seen so much about life and the way things have happened. Like I said, with my parents, it would have been a very different experience without them. And just something that which I almost think sums up everything I've been saying, that Lily says in a nutshell, is you can either be in your head or you can be in love with life. And that kind of sums up my life experience up until a slice of happiness. I was in my head and I created a really rubbish place to be honest. And then now more and more sort of in love and in life. So thank you so much, Lily.
Thanks, Lily. I feel the same. Just being the example of compassion and being the example of sensitivity, for sure. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, just wanted to say hi, and I'm Noe from A Slice of Happiness, and I've heard his story very briefly, small bits of his story a few times, but never quite like today, and it really, it's really touched me. It was really beautiful, and I've learned a lot from Ian, being one of the people that was unemployed and went to Slice of Happiness, and I found Ian very easy to understand and a very compassionate man. And just want to say thank you for all the hope you've given me in the, I think it's about 4 months since I joined the Slice of Happiness. But yeah, thank you so much, Ian. It was really lovely hearing your more in detailed story tonight. I feel like I know you just that little bit more now. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amanda. That's really appreciated. I just want to say, I mean, Amanda's only been involved in the Slice of Happiness for 4 months, but the way what she's seen and the way she speaks is brilliant. She's like a peer mentor now, which is what I was doing last year, and it's brilliant to see people having the same journey and insights and understanding as you, isn't it? I think there isn't anything more rewarding really than seeing people have those insights on a group and being part of it. And I'm sure everyone feels that way, and that's sort of why it's a growing community that's just full of authenticity and love.
Yeah, thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. I think this speaks a lot, and I'm hearing this speaks so much to how important it is to have, these are global rooms, these are bigger, but those small groups where you can really unfold, there's no recording, small groups and the constant steady of that and what happens in that. You guys are all sharing the example of that. Yeah, I love hearing that. Hi, Jane. Thanks, Amanda.
Right.
I just wanted to say it's really nice to hear you again. Really kind of miss the interaction. And it's really inspiring.
Thank you, Jane. It's good to see your face and hear your voice. Like we've spoken about, I could always quite relate to you, with our own version of busy minds that everyone has. And yeah, I hope you're remaining involved with the 3 principles and you're seeing more as time goes on. Because I know you get bogged down, but you have also seen a fair bit that I've seen in the groups we've shared.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good. I just got the invite 10 minutes beforehand, and yeah, I'm really glad I tuned in, and it's lovely to see. So thanks, mate.
Yeah, I'm glad you did, and it's good. As I say, it's good to see you.
We're glad you did.
Thank you.
Keep coming back. There's lots to be heard and seen. So we've come to our time. We've come to our amazing time together. I want to thank everybody for showing up, for being a part of the room, for sharing in conversation. And Ian, I want to put out something. as a question, and maybe maybe you could share what you feel about this. And that is, what would you say to those people who want to be a speaker, who want to put themselves and their message and who they are out to the world? And you just did. What would you say to them who are still thinking about it, who still have some thoughts around it?
My initial thought is I don't know. I mean, for me, it's just something that's evolved and happened. But I suppose I would say, you know, if you've seen something around the principles, it's only natural. Sorry, my dog's trying to get involved because I spoke about that. But yeah, it's only natural that we want to share it. And like I said earlier, when we're coming from that loving, connected place, there is no sort of showing yourself up, talking in public, or there is no getting it wrong, because we're all just trying to come from that authentic place.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Kind Mind is here for anybody who'd like to come weekly. And Ian, I want to thank you with all my heart. You became a good friend this year, and I'm so glad. And ladies, it's like the Oreo cookie around this amazing man. Susan, Liliana, and Caroline, lovely to see you guys again. And here's a shout out for the Big Simple and a Slice of Happiness, doing beautiful work, loving people in their experience as they move through life and journey through life. And I am Kelly at Kind Mind, and I am going to see you all next week, same time, same place, for love, for understanding, and for kindness. So go ahead and turn on your mics and say goodbye to Ian.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ian.
Thanks,
Bye,
Ian.
Ian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Ian. Much
Yeah,
appreciated.
thanks, Kelly.
See you
See you
guys.
next time.
Thank you. Bye.